this time wisely with him. Okay? All right.
All right, thanks, Lloyd. For starters, I don't have anything prepared, or I wasn't really prepared to talk this long, so if I kind of jump all over the place or if I screw up, I apologize beforehand. I'm not a professional speaker. But, you know, I think it's important to share part of my story as well as Lloyd's story with you guys because I grew up here. You know, so I was just like one of you guys. I went to Bergen Catholic High School, played against Lloyd when he was at Ramapo. And you know, him and I are evidence of what many kids that grew up in this area are able to accomplish. I think I'm a little more unique because there hasn't been too many professional soccer players from this area, even though there's a ton of soccer talent, guys who really made it and stuck around. And so just to kind of go through my path and share my story with you guys, you know, I went to Bergen Catholic High School and you know, was fortunate enough to play varsity as a freshman and work my way up. I think Lloyd got all the awards back then over me, so I was kind of in his shadow. But I was very fortunate to have someone like Lloyd to compete with and play with, and I was fortunate that I became best friends with him as well. And now suddenly my best friend was also the guy that was pushing me to be the best player I could be. And the most important thing that I can share with you guys about my high school soccer experience is holding yourself to a higher standard than what others expect. And that for me was crucial because, you know, and there's a funny story that I love sharing with you guys. And you know, for you guys that don't know, my father was also a professional soccer player. So I was very lucky to have him, you know, give me advice and help me, you know, develop as a player and as a person throughout the years. And one thing I learned from playing with guys like Lloyd, from my dad, from, you know, all these soccer experiences was you have to at some point know what being a good soccer player looks like and feels like, just like you have to know what being a good person looks like and feels like, right? All you guys are at this age know the difference between right and wrong, right? You know when you do something wrong, you get that feeling in your stomach like, you know what? I cheated on that exam, or I lied to a friend, or I didn't listen to what my parents wanted me to do. Or just like on the soccer field, like I know that guy was open, but I took the extra touch because I was a little bit selfish, or, you know, I was tracking back, but then I stopped and I, you know, didn't follow that guy back. It's the same principle, same concept. And for me to grow as a soccer player and as a person, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And in my particular situation, you know, playing at Bergen Catholic, there were a lot of times where we played against teams that weren't so good, that it was easy to, you know, score a couple goals, but still not give my maximum effort. And the story I love sharing is my dad was always one of my biggest critics. He was actually probably my biggest critic until I became my own biggest critic. And I'll never forget, I think it was my junior year of high school, played a game against like Kennedy or something like that, and we beat them 5-0, and I had 5 goals. Game ended, and all the parents were lined up, you know, outside by the fence when we were leaving. Everyone's like, great job, 5 goals, wow, you're awesome today, you know, all this stuff, patting me on the back. That was the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, cool, whatever. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, can't find my parents anywhere. All right, maybe they're up in the car already. So I go up to the parking lot at BC, and my dad's already in the car running. And I'm like, oh, all right, I guess he's in a rush or something, I don't know. Sit in the car, close the door, feeling pretty damn good about myself. Just scored 5 goals, won 5-0. There's no way I could say anything bad, you know? So I sit in the car, silence, nothing. And I'm kind of like, all right, like, did I do something wrong, or what's going on here? And next thing you know, the first thing he says to me is, you were the worst player on that field today. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute, I was a little smart ass when I was in high school. But I'm like, all right, come on, like, scored 5 goals. And he's like, I don't care, you're the worst player on the field today. And me being a smart ass, I was like, well, hold on. If I was the worst player on the field and I scored 5 goals and we won 5-0, at least the goalkeeper on the other team is worse than I was. Because if I suck, then he must really suck if he let me score 5 times. So, and he's like, no. He's like, no, actually you were worse than that goalkeeper. And I'm like, how? He's like, because that goalkeeper gave it everything he had. And okay, so what? He couldn't stop your shots. He's like, but you sold yourself short. You cheated yourself. There were a lot of plays that you didn't do the right thing. You could have done a lot better. It's not about scoring goals. It's not about getting attention. Holding yourself to a higher standard. And I remember I kind of brushed it off back then, where I was like, whatever, my dad's just hating on me for some reason. but you know, it started to click, and that was the first defining moment in my life where I was like, I think he's trying to help me, you know? Like, it kind of makes sense, but I hadn't really figured it out yet. And the more I started thinking about it, and the more I progressed as a player, I was like, okay, I get it. You could, in soccer, just like in life, there are a lot of moments where you can take the easy way out. And people probably won't notice, but you notice, right? So no matter what it is you do, whether you want to be a pro soccer player, whether you want to be an engineer, whether you want to be a professional video game player, whatever it is, right? You gotta learn to now take advantage of your opportunities and hold that standard, right? That's the most important thing I could pass down to you. One of the other most important things my dad said to me, which at first I didn't understand, but it made sense, was he told me, and it really stuck with me, he was like, you know what, before you could ever even be a good soccer player, you have to be a good person. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. If I just train hard and play soccer, I could be an asshole and still be a good soccer player, right? No. There's a much bigger meaning than that, because if you're a good person and you treat everyone with respect, your teammates, you do everything the right way, you treat your parents with respect, your friends, then the ceiling is way up here, whereas if you're an asshole, it's probably out here. And when you're an asshole and you're not doing the right things, your timeline and people's patience for you is going to be a lot shorter. Oh, you messed up? Guess what? You're cut. You're out of here. Oh, you know what? You showed up late to practice? You're traded. See? These are all little things. Oh, you showed up late to work? You're fired. Right? But how you treat people, the standard you hold yourself up to, that lasts forever. And so for me in high school, that was the first time it clicked for me. And you know, going into my senior year, I think that was the first time where I really began to be my own critic, where I didn't need my dad or my mom or my friend to say, hey, you took that play off, or hey, you didn't do the right thing. I knew already. And it's just being honest with yourself, you know? And that's when I really kind of took off and you know, had a good senior year. I think I scored 66 goals that last year, and then suddenly everyone knew who I was and got, you know, college offers and scholarships, national team, all that stuff. Before that, I really didn't have any of it. To be honest with you, I played ODP state team with Lloyd. I didn't start at all my first year. I think because I was left-footed, they thought I should be a left back, which I'd never played in the back before.
Because your dad thought that too.
Yeah, my dad was a defender, so they're like, oh, he must probably be a defender too. Never bothered to ask me. I don't know if they just didn't think I spoke English or what, but it was one of those things where I was always kind of in the shadows, and then I had to kind of earn it the hard way. And I went through a lot of tough times, man. A lot of times where I was like, I feel like I'm being cheated, or I feel like I'm not getting the opportunity that someone else is getting, or, you know, it's his fault, her fault, whatever it is. Eventually, I made a decision to stop making excuses, and I was just gonna have fun.